Hey everybody, good morning. It's Jillian. So overnight, after I've done like a data dump, and their data dump is like two ways of explaining me going on Facebook Live and just putting out thoughts and putting out ideas and then bringing them all together. Another data dump is when you go to the bathroom and then let the universe take all those constituents and put them all together somewhere else. And that will happen in the sewer system. So anyways, I wanted to give you clarity about the Georgia Guidestones, why they must exist, okay? And that's why you guys are very lucky to be part of the JJ mentality, because it will give you a leg up in sidestepping the intentions of the balancing forces. All right? There is so much suffering in humanity because of overpopulation and not enough cures in the world to keep people at status quo, and people are destroying themselves and each other. I mean, you're seeing it right now. Our society is falling apart because evolution must kick in at some point. And when evolution kicks in and you're not prepared for it and you're at a deficit, people suffer. Just the other day, someone was saying like, oh, Jillian, you're monstrous for boasting about your dog going through seizures. And what do you want me to do? You want me to put her on anti-seizure medication and then she's drugged up and then there's side effects, and then put her on another string of medication with side effects until my dog is destroyed? I mean, what's the alternative? Evolution is not fun. It's not easy. It's downright scary for some people. And that's the suffering of humanity, are those that are not prepared to evolve. And when the evolution takes place and they're not prepared for it, they suffer. They only suffer because of ignorance. My dog is not ignorant because she has somebody else that knows what's going on and will get her through this. Okay? She didn't have a seizure last night, but she's going through skin inflammation. And so I use chili juice for topical. I use the coconut oil to give her moisturizer. And she's in relief. But she doesn't have fleas. She's itchy because this damn virus. I've been itchy from this damn virus. So I can imagine now what she's going through. And so, yeah, the suffering in humanity is astronomical. 7 billion people who really can't afford to take on the cures. And so when you're at a deficit and the cures aren't working, because if you're at such a deficit and you're putting on something that's antibiotic, even the J juice, okay? Even the J juice, because you do too much of it over a long period of time, you'll be the crypt keeper and you'll die. And so the cures in the system using antibiotics are not taking or holding. There's antibiotic resistance because the bodies so want to live, but they're still at a deficit. So the climb to evolving to the level of what they stopped the evolution from at one point in time way back when, and to the new environment of this virus, it's insane. And so that's why you're seeing more violence happen. That's why you're seeing people just unravel. Why traveling is very dangerous, because people are, anything that triggers them politically, spiritually, whatever, they turn to violence. Okay? And so this Georgia Guidestones is about, okay, we understand that they've made mistakes. Oh my God, you all made mistakes. So give the New World Order, the global elite, a little bit of a break. They're dealing with 7 billion people in all levels of evolution and de-evolution, with all their religions and their belief systems, and then demonizing people because they don't understand death. And maybe the New World Order didn't understand death themselves. All they knew is try to slow it down, but you can't stop it altogether if you don't understand what it takes to evolve and stay alive with all the food and the food supply. So I don't really know what they know, but we are in a situation where we have so many people, like an obese person. There's so much cells and life inside of you that it's strangulating the energy, strangulating the air. It's taking up so many resources. And so when you are so well insulated by so much of obesity, then that would also cause more methane and heat, and then taxing your organs and all that stuff. And people who are underweight, okay, when you don't have enough resources, but you still are not burning clean fuel, so to speak, with the salt or whatever. I know I'm jumping from one thing to another. Then you will not be able to handle the environment. And so the whole Georgia Guidestones is maintaining humanity under 500 million. 500 million is not a horrible number, because it would put people in their own little tiny pods, I guess, of communities in all different continents, and then you allow biodiversity to flourish. The earth comes back like it probably did way back when, before humans figured out that they had a lot of power, and even they were able to overtake the giants. And I'm watching Netflix, or not Netflix, YouTube videos about the giants and like the cannibals in Hindu, or in the Hindu religion in India, which is a monk sect where they eat people and spread the cremation, dead ashes over their body and all that stuff. But there are also giants that did eat people and that lived in caves, and then the smaller diminutive man figured out how to overtake them and destroy them because they were cannibalizing people. Okay? So humans, and so that was probably the balancing forces. Once we got rid of our natural enemy, which was the major giants that were cannibalizing us, I know this sounds really way out of whack, then we're like, okay, life is precious, we're all going to go and proliferate, and so you go through these cycles, and you don't know how wrong it is until you start seeing so you start understanding balance, the plus and minus, the ionic and the covalent. No different with the food. The food is ionic and covalent. It must add substance, it must take away substance, and keep the balance every so often in a fluctuating environment. That's the same thing with Earth. When you have so many, 7 billion people that require so much infrastructure, so much food, so much heating, so much food, all this stuff, then that does tax the resources. And you're like, oh, well, there's more than enough oil. There's more than enough resources to go around. If you go, how much are you going to destroy the earth to dig for minerals, to dig for fossil fuels? I mean, yeah, there might be enough, but how many holes in the earth are we going to be digging to do that? And so you are now being given a choice. That's the thing. That's what my whole book is going to be about. Yes, the Georgia Guidestones is needed. Do you have to be the one to die? No, you don't. Those that don't have access to resources or have very minimal access to resources, they're not going to survive anyways. And so when we were in the war in for 20 years, we took out, we brought home to America a certain amount of Afghans that were already working with the military and with the Americans. So they're already acclimated to our way, and they already believed in our way. So we took those that were ready to evolve and took them into the first world. Doesn't mean they're going to survive, all of them. It just means that they have the capacity to assimilate to our culture because they want to. But there's 6.5 billion that are needing to be going through a process and to figure out if they have what it takes to be in the first world. Because when you think about it, the NWO want more first world than they want third world. I mean, they want third world that are able to rise up to the first world, but they have to have the capacity. I mean, nature versus nurture. Can you take someone in their natural background and nurture them to another class? I mean, you could. I mean, they've done it. Doesn't mean it's always going to happen, but your body must be able to handle the new evolution. And that means the new viruses. That means the new way of doing things. That means that you have to be able to go to a grocery store and know how to pick out your food and pay with money. And if you're from another country that doesn't have a lot of education and you've never really been exposed to a grocery store, you're not going to be able to assimilate to the first world status. Okay? And so when Biden went to the summit and he was saying that he's trying to cut 30% of the methane, I figured out, holy shit, methane. People give off methane. The oil companies give off methane. But then it's not a bad thing, because I'm thinking like, oh yeah, the DNA methylation and obesity and what they use in oncology to stop cancer. And so then it all kind of came together for me. And I'm like, oh, I see what's going on now. And I see at the macro level with the whole global warming and climate change. And then with the green machine, and I see at the micro level using methane, which is what we're trying to stop from killing the planet. But why are we using DNA methylation to kill cancer because the system hasn't figured out how to rise to the level of the environment. They only know how to sink themselves lower to the level of the environment and still be in a cured state, but you're happy on your way out the door. And so we're giving everyone a choice. I mean, I'm serious. You have a freaking choice. Salt isn't horrible. Salt is not bad. Too much salt, you'll be cannibalized by the environment because that's too much energy and you're not going to code correctly. Not enough salt, you're going to be taking on covalent bonding and essentially be taking on poop and fat, and then you will cause DNA methylation, more anomalous activity, and mitigating gene transcription, which is gene replication. And so it is a constant balance. It really is. And you have to feel the viral variance. At some point, yes, when you're on the J juice in the beginning and you have a lot of predispositions, even every single drink of J juice is going to bring stuff up and you're going to hate it. That's why I'm not anyone's savior or anyone's Satan, because I know not everyone's prepared to deal with some of the stuff that's going on. And so if you watch my videos and you watch my stuff and then you make the choice without me prodding you and telling you should do it, because doing it on Facebook, hey, you take my stuff or leave it. When you talk to a person personally, now you're in this whole, I'm going to convert you to my line of thought. And that is a doctor-patient relationship. Anytime you see a doctor, they're converting you to their belief system because you're not going in there and saying, I'm going to be the professional here. No, they're taking you on as their patient. They're going to convert you. Okay, there is a power dynamic that is very unequal. And so I don't want that power dynamic. I don't want to be your savior or eventually your Satan and vice versa. And so you guys have a choice to take this on. You have a choice. Salt isn't bad. You must balance it out and be prepared to deal with everything under the sun. At some point, you will be in a cured state, but then that's not even the point. At some point, when you drink the J juice, you'll bring everything up, and then you will be at equilibrium with that specific thing. Maybe you drink more J juice, or you don't. You just leave it alone because that main thing was the main thing that stopped you from doing stuff. And so you're like, okay, I'm off the J juice. That's great. And all of a sudden you feel something, you leave it alone and you feed it. Okay? Some people just want to get their life back. I understand that, but don't stop there. Because if you keep doing J juice every single time you have a pain, you don't even know. When you think about it, you'd have to have a list. Here's the thing. You'd have to have a list of everything that is going on with your body that could potentially be affected by having to evolve. Like, you're going to have to deal with it, right? You don't have that list. You only have a partial list. Whatever that your parents died from, they don't tell you everything. Maybe you might see their autopsy if you get it. Maybe you might know things because you've been dealing with stuff in your lifetime. Okay, so you can add that to your list. But there are things that you weren't even aware of. There are things I wasn't even aware of that came up for me. Okay? There are things that I wasn't even aware of or I've forgotten. And so when you first do the J, you're releasing all the old programming, and maybe you're feeling great in a cured state. You don't know when to get off, but you start feeling something else again, and it's taking you out. Okay, fine. Eventually, you got to get off the J altogether because you're going to have to deal with all of everything out there. Because if you don't regenerate, and if you don't deal with the predispositions you have, a new virus is going to come into your world, and it's going to force you to deal with it yet again until you deal with your stuff. And so then you have to not do any more J juice, because what's going to happen is you keep doing the J juice in reaction to, you will turn into the crypt keeper. You will be a mummy. You will end up to be a mummy. Okay? Beef jerky, whatever the hell you want to call it. And so I'm off the J juice. The only time I took it when I was dealing with that COVID was like 2 little shots. But since then, I've been feeling the heat. Actually, no period yet, and it's already November 3rd. No period in October. Go figure. I don't know what that means. No, I'm not menopausal. But I mean, I felt the heat. I felt the headaches. I felt, the anxiety sometimes, the energy. Like my dog the other night, she was just zoomy, and she's biting at herself and stuff, because I know that she's feeling some viral stuff, and it's the energy surging. And you got to channel it, you got to feed it, and you got to just deal with it. You got to just know, okay, this is just temporary as you're profusely sweating because of new viral variant. And that's the hardest part, to tell someone that understands the J juice and loves it so much. Why do they love it so much? Because you don't feel shit. I don't want you to love J juice. Great odds to it. I don't want you to hate J juice. I want it to be there to be a catalyst to your evolution, and then the salt should be in your food supply to then keep the energy going, so the food can code from your DNA to all your 11 different systems, and then also release anything excess that doesn't need. So, but that's the salt in the food supply. I mean, I'm drinking, this is a lot of cream and coffee, but I was looking forward to it. I didn't make any iced coffee, so I just made this from last night from the excess. And so you do things the food is what helps you eliminate. The food is also what helps you coat and keep on substance. You don't want to be underweight, and you don't want to be overweight. If someone is aging and they are underweight or overweight, I don't care which side, it's the DNA methylation from the low sodium diets that is cannibalizing them, that's causing them to fall apart. And so if you've had ruptured eardrums because of the COVID-19, if you had other types of issues from the COVID-19, it's because that COVID-19 was trying to code you. You had glitchy viral programming that wasn't released properly, and you're not coding correctly. And, the food that you're eating is just compounding the imbalances in your hormones, and so even the food is not going to do anything for you. That's the thing about eating food when you're aging with DNA methylation. It's like, it's foul burning energy. It's toxic. And so those that are on and so I figured out last night, those that are on low sodium diets are putting out toxic farts. Okay, and so when you're on low sodium diets, there's no clean burning energy, and so the methane is, destroying the planet. And so those on the Jilly Juice are actually not only helping the planet, but they're helping themselves. That's the freaking kicker. That's the whole irony of it all, is that we have all these green machine people who are low sodium diets, who hate the J juice. We're all about saving the planet, and they can't even save themselves. That's the irony of it all. And so when I Googled that about, does salt clean methane? Yeah, it does. But can you tell that to 7 billion freaking people who are afraid of salt, afraid of symptoms, afraid of everything, want to be lost in distraction, drugs, alcohol, and massive amounts of sex and whatever? You can't tell. So then the virus is the balancing force. But you guys they're doing the JJ mentality, you have a chance to sidestep this stuff. Now, there's going to be major storms because of climate change. You can call it the Illuminati doing it. Climate change is climate change, whatever it is, whether someone's doing it or whether it's actually part of this methane emissions that are causing the planet to heat up, greenhouse gases. But it makes sense because DNA methylation is used to squelch cancer cells. Methane you can burn it. It has properties. It has beneficial properties, but like anything, too much will be toxic to biodiversity. Okay? So there's going to be crazy storms. There's going to be shit going on that you're going to have to be watching for the indicators. That's why you watch the news. That's why you don't unplug from the matrix. That's why you look for the indicators. That's why you stay tuned in to everything. Don't check out. Don't just listen to your one tunnel vision pundit, whether it's Alex Jones or somebody that's a pastor that's like, oh, everything is the end of the freaking world, la 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 la. You stay tuned into all media, because you'll hear one side from one person, you'll hear another side from another person. You realize this side's kind of bullshit because they're already thinking the end anyway. So, but you listen to them just because they might say something and have their spin on something that's actually current, but they'll spin it. And so you can spin it to your whatever you want, but you still watch what's going on, because this infrastructure plan, the cutting the emissions of 30%, the methane emissions, that's going to impact electricity. It's going to impact the economy. It's going to impact the way you do life. People are saying, oh, there's going to be electricity shortages. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen. And you can't blame anyone. You just have to ride it through, because the ones that are not strong are not going to survive this change. Okay? They're not going to survive. And you can't save them. You can't even save yourself. And if you can save yourself, don't bother trying to save everybody else, because they're going to cannibalize the shit out of you. You be the example for those in your world. Methane storms. Oh yeah, John. Yeah, answers. Yeah. You save people in your world by being the example, because you still want to give them the choice, but you don't want to convert them. You don't want to ram life or death down anyone's throat. Okay? And if being the example is just living your life, then do it. Because at this point, it's too far beyond our ability to give people a one-on-one. They either want to tune in to me or tune in to you if you're doing something like this, or tune in to the haters that want to talk smack about me, whatever. But they're tuning in. I mean, I got loyal haters on my business page. Bless their heart. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way, because they're still taking in the information. Now, what will they do with it? Hell, I don't know. It doesn't even matter to me. But something is drawing them to my information. And they're struggling with it. Believe me, I understand. I struggle with a lot of things too, but I still stay engaged. And it's taken me a while to figure out that when I first wrote my book with using the Georgia Guidestones and the World Economic Forum, I remember giving that to somebody that was helping me edit, but she's not around anymore because she had to go her own direction. I remember thinking that Klaus Schwab is like the CEO of the Illuminati and the Georgia Guidestones, the whole depopulation agenda. And I had a negative perspective. Then I realized that the suffering of evolution is so astronomical that you want people to pass away in dignity. You want to give them the choice. You don't want it to be a World War II situation, but you want people to make the choice and pass away with dignity, and also think that it's natural. I mean, death is natural when you're at deficits, but we've accepted that prior to the COVID-19, prior to 2020. It was acceptable, but now with this virus and then all the things with the vaccines, now people are thinking, oh shit, I don't want to die. And then they're wanting to blame. And so you have that, plus then you have all the conspiracy stuff about the storms and the climate change. And that's fine, get people stuck in their rabbit holes blaming something. They're still not going to do anything for themselves anyways, because it's always somebody else's fault. It's the salt's fault, it's the probiotics fault, it's the sugar's fault, it's whatever. But the end result is still going to be the same, because a person would never change the way they look at things, and so they'll end up accelerating their belief systems. And so that's the suffering of humanity, is those that can't take to the cures and they still want to live, and so they are suffering. And then even potentially some people destroy themselves faster, and then putting that out there like Dr. Sebi and other types of antibiotic gurus. And then the system's like, holy shit, you can't be the one, you can't go out there and promote antibiotics if you're not FDA approved. And so that's why they went after all these different holistic professionals who are unlicensed, who are dabbling with the herbs and all the antibiotics. Because when you abuse antibiotics, they're deadly. At least with the probiotics, you use salt to just quell the life, right? So probiotics, to regulate probiotics, it's just salt, not deadly. But you can't regulate, once something is dead, it's dead, right? When something's alive, you can kind of temper the energy. But when something's dead, it's dead. There is no coming back from that. And so you cannot be a holistic professional promoting your own concoction of antibiotics and think you're going to get away with it, and the government's going to allow you to do it. But the government also, is playing this balance of being in a cured state, reproducing, cured, and dying, and everything is regulated from the ground up to the plateau and then the downhill slide. Okay? And so now you have to understand the Georgia Guidestones are necessary, but you have the choice. But it's not an easy choice. You saw what I went through the last 5 years. I couldn't have rolled this out this last couple years as far as the JJ mentality. I would have been lost in my own cancer, my own lymphoma. I would have had lymphoma. I had things that were going on with me in my reproductive area, which is why I had such bad PMDD and nothing else. But I would have had some kind of ovarian cancer or some kind of cancer down there. I know. I sidestepped some major bullets. Okay? And so it's going to be a fucking battle. I'm not kidding. It's going to be a battle if you're just going to start this. Especially in this economy where everyone is trying to make the money, and they're doing jobs of 3 or 4 people because there's not enough people to go around. Or there is, people don't want to work in these certain fields, or people have died off. And so now trying to evolve where you're now doing work for 3 or 4 people, and you want to make all this money, and your political belief system is, oh, I'm a Republican, I'm not supposed to stay home and take on unemployment, blah, 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 blah. And so your own belief system is going to destroy you. And so at some point you're going to have to just let go of all the politics, religion, and science, and focus on yourself and figure out how to survive and evolve. And if it means cutting down your hours, do that. If it means cutting down your lifestyle, do that so you can fit evolution. If not, then yeah, it'll be a supernova for many people. The environment's going to ensure that, because that was a lot of heat. What I gave off the last couple weeks, if somebody was obese or somebody was so underweight, that heat would have cannibalized them. My dog had a lot of energy. That heat was definitely making her run around. And I kept feeding that energy food, feeding it meat, milk, cheese, eggs, whatever. Okay, with the omega-3s and all of that stuff. So I want you to understand that the heat, the heat's going to keep you warm. Too much heat, DNA methylation. Not enough heat, you'll be DNA methylation and then also cannibalized. And so have a little bit of a belly, have some boobs, have some butt, have some thighs, girls and men too, but you guys will figure it out. And balance yourself with the viral environment that is very hot. Balance yourself out with the geographical location. Eat all food in the food supply. Deal with the pain, the energetic pain, and it sucks. The headaches were insane. Okay? Bloating. I remember bloating. Constipation, you deal with milk. Unless you have a milk issue, then you have to deal with that until the milk issue is over with. If you're obese, do the JJ as much as you can. Eat food. If you're underweight, do a few waterfalls. And then eat all food in the food supply and feel the uncomfortable coating. Because your body now has to go and 3D printer back itself into existence. Because you were diminishing. And so this isn't for everybody. So that's why the Georgia Guidestones exist, because the suffering of humanity is so astronomical that, yeah, people are unraveling. And so this virus is going to level the playing field. But as people are taking on this virus, their reactions are going to be unpredictable. And so you stay home, stay safe. And if you're out there, be so aware of your surroundings. Know your exit points. Don't really go into large crowds. If I can just give you any advice, see people on one-on-one or a few that you know. But as soon as you go into a large venue, like a party or a concert or even a crowded bar, restaurants are touch and go unless it's like on a Friday night or Saturday night. But I would avoid all major crowds for a long ass time because it's unpredictable. It is so unpredictable, it's unpredictable. And I'm even aware when I go to Walmart, who's around me. It's crowded in Walmart, right? I hate being, in Walmart, but it's Walmart. And if I'm going to go shopping with my husband, I will. But I'm very aware of who's around me. But I'm not drinking or I'm not doing anything that's taking me out of the awareness. I'm so aware of who's around me, who's looking at me, who's not, who whatever. And I know my exit points. And it's very well lit. And and then I'm out of there. I don't spend too much time unless I'm with my husband. Then my husband will, then we'll figure it out if we have things to do. But that's my only advice is, yeah. So I'm going to keep writing my stuff. I'm so glad now I finally have a voice. I finally have a direction. The chicken's going to come before the egg, because there's no way I'm going to start off with a freaking quark and then work my way up and then try to hit politics, religion, science, and then the timeline, the history of the world. That I saw my friend Bridget last night. I spoke with her for a bit, and I said, I'm not going to go through the history of the world. I'm not going to go through every single freaking, system in the body. I mean, the immune system and the digestive system, sort of, but the immune system is really what people need to understand because of DNA encoding and pooping and retaining. But am I going to go and like, okay, well, the ligament does this and this does this. So everything that I will be focusing on is going to be applicable to the main bottom line, is understanding how to evolve and how the food supply is going to do that. The bioengineered food supply, dealing with the pain of the prostaglandin hormones, the inflammation. And then salt is like a cure for infection, but you still need to evolve. And so it's going to be very, very organized, and it's not going to be so long that you can be like, what the hell is she doing? Reinventing the wheel? I mean, because everything that I've been writing the last 6 months is like doing term papers and book reports on very specific subject matters that a professor would have you do. So I was essentially professoring myself. I was teaching myself stuff by writing about Jesus, by writing about religion, Judea, writing about Freemasons and the Catholic Church and all the Greek mythology, writing about the current events, what happened in 2020 and racism, and writing about, oh my gosh, all the stuff with the universe and the sun, the moon, the stars, and planetary whatever, and all the different theories of relativity and all the different mathematical equations and formulas and the English language. And I mean, I covered everything in academia that they would cover in very specific circumstances and wrote about it. The breakdown of the words, breakdown of the parts of speech, okay, how they use parts of speech to market you and make you think that you should do something when really it's for them, but really is it for you? I mean, and so that's what I've been doing, is I've been doing my own college. I've devised my own curriculum based upon what I need to find out to substantiate my point of view, and I've evolved along the way. I'm not demonizing the World Economic Forum. I'm not demonizing the Illuminati. I'm not demonizing the Georgia Guidestones. I understand now for what it is, and I understand the green side of it. The green machine, of which the Republicans were so against. And Alex Jones and all of his people are so against it. But you see how Alex Jones blew up, as far as he's got a lot of DNA methylation going on. He's contributing to the toxic planet of all of his toxic farts. Okay? So at some point, we're going to figure out that maybe the left people forget all the racial stuff, but the left may have something to say. They might actually be correct. The green machine might actually be correct. The Georgia Guidestones may actually be correct. I don't believe what they're doing in China with putting these things on the kid's head because a round head is more aesthetically appealing in China. I don't really like that. But I mean, I think that, a composite of China, Europe, and all the other countries that are in the first world with a mixture of third world, we can all obviously work together. There's going to be a lot of psychological operations like, oh, they're building bombs here and building torpedoes here. If it happens, it happens. You're not going to be alive to be like against it anyway. So don't live in fear of that. But show people, show the global elite what it means to be on the JJ mentality. That we have something that the new world can use and have a productive society who is evolving without destroying in the process. Right now, people are evolving, but they're destroying in the process because they don't know what to do with this energy and they're afraid of it. And so the energy gets misdirected. And so we have to be the ones to show, and that's why the JJ mentality exists. That's why I have two business pages. And I know I have a journalist, that one that did the BuzzFeed news, she's following my Exposing the Lies page. I saw that like a year or so ago or less. And so I hope that if she's going to write any article, I hope it's going to help humanity and not destroy it. Because now the journalists, they have a lot more responsibility in how they shape people's minds, the way that people think, and if she decides to destroy humanity with another inflammatory article about me, so be it. She's part of the New World Order's destruction of keeping people in a belief system for easier disposal. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I'm trying to give people the opportunity so they don't have to end up that way. If she wants to end up and be the one to help destroy people, fine. It's the balance. And so, but I'm aware of it. But I'm still going to give credible, substantiated information from PhD academia. And if that's not good enough for someone from MIT, then why the hell did you go to school for? Okay? So, all right. I'll talk to you later, guys, but have a good one. I know I'm going to have one. A good one. All right. Bye.